Hello again. I hope you've enjoyed week 5 of our virtual pilgrimage. We are more than halfway through our programming, and I would like to let you know that we have over 181,000 views across our platforms and 40,000 unique visitors to our website. Thank you all for helping us spread the word of this programming and supporting us. This last week, we focused on the theme of what is citizenship and learned about the complicated nature of being Japanese American and the expectations from your country, from your fellow Americans, and from your family. We learned about the resistance at Tule Lake, heard poetry from Brandon Shimoda. We heard stories from the Hawaii Japanese Americans and their struggle fighting on both sides of the war. We learned about the U.S. Army and Department of Justice camps at Santa Fe, Lordsburg, Fort Stanton, Baca in New Mexico, and Fort Missoula in Montana. We read about Ruth Asawa, the famed artist who will be immortalized in a postage stamp soon. This week's themes focus on resettlement. We want to focus on the resettlement program and how people tried to rebuild their lives as they left the camps. We will be looking at resettlement in Chicago, Detroit, and at Seabrooks, as well as people returning back to their homes on the West Coast. We have a great variety of films from our film festival. Make sure you check it out. This week, we have a live screening of Blossom and Thorns with a Q&A session. Next Saturday, there will be an opportunity to participate in the Machiu Special Resource Study to gather information on the site's potential for inclusion in the National Park System. Please join us for this live event. Before I leave you, I would like to introduce you to my colleague, Becky Burkhart, from Site Manager at the Hanford Unit of the Manhattan Project National Historic Park, to tell you about a project that you can participate in for the 75th anniversary of the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I hope you enjoy this week's programming, and I'll see you next week.
Hello, I'm Becky Burkhart, the Hanford Unit Site Manager for the Manhattan Project National Historical Park. The Manhattan Project National Historical Park preserves and interprets the nationally significant sites, stories, and legacies of the Manhattan Project, which was the U.S. government's atomic weaponry program during World War II. Summer of 2020 marks 75 years since the culmination of the Manhattan Project, with the Trinity test on July 16, 1945, and the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan in August of 1945. The origami crane is a symbol of peace, resilience, and strength. To celebrate these values and to recognize the historical trauma of the atomic bombings, the park is soliciting origami cranes with messages of peace written on them. These cranes will be stored in a time capsule opened on the 100th anniversary of the bombings in 2045. I hope that you consider submitting your message of peace with your crane to the park. These messages will help us understand what peace means to us today, 75 years later, and within the context of our current tumultuous times. So thank you, and I look forward to receiving your crane and messages of peace.